I love almost everything about this camera, and it actually boosted my confidence in myself as a nature photographer. But more on that later. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I like the fact that this camera is not as big and heavy as the Z9. I don't think actually I would enjoy shooting with a camera that's much heavier than this one. This is a good balance, really powerful beast, and not being too heavy. I like the grip as I usually do this. It likes on the inside here, it curves a little bit inward, making sure that you have like a firm grip and you can carry this around for a very long session, no doubt about it. Actually, most time I don't even have a camera strap. I just hold the camera in my like 3 or 4 fingers, just rest there because the grip is so good. Coming from this Nikon Z series, I love that there are more buttons. That has already helped me so much. Also the weather shielding is of course great. I've had it out in rain, no issues whatsoever. I like this thing about the sensor shield. So as soon as you switch lenses, the sensor is protected from dust and moist and whatever. I also enjoy that you have almost 46 megapixels to play with. That helped me a lot in my sessions with the squirrels and the rodeos, especially the squirrels, because sometimes they don't fill up the frame as much as I would like to. And this helps a lot to be able to crop in a bit more, but that's of course only if you cannot get the reach with the other lens that you should crop in. But it's nice that you have the ability and you get so much more details in your wildlife photos. Of course, I also enjoy that you can shoot with 20 frames per second in RAW, and if you go for high quality JPEG, I think it's 30, and low quality JPEGs it's like 120 frames per second. But the thing that has impressed me the most coming from the Nikon Z6 II is how awesome the autofocus is on the Nikon Z8. When I used this in the field for the first time, I suddenly felt like I was a good photographer because I nailed shot after shot. Birds in flight that I wasn't able to do with the Nikon Z6 II. Of course, I also used another lens, to be fair, but even when I put my old Tamron lens, the 150 to 600 millimeters, the autofocus is phenomenal. It's like a whole other world. It's like really phenomenal. And this gave me like this confidence that I wasn't so bad wildlife photographer as I sometimes think I am, because I don't nail the shot that I think I should have. So the autofocus is fast and accurate and simply much more flexible than what I'm used to. You can set your own custom focus area. For instance, I have a set of focus area that's long and horizontal. Also, when it comes to subject tracking, you can fine tune it so that the camera looks for like mammals or birds, and this makes the subject tracking just a little bit faster when you know what you are looking for. However, there's one thing I miss about this. I find it a bit odd that you cannot set the custom buttons to cycle through the different subject types like you can do with the focus modes. But maybe, or hopefully, the camera will get a firmware update so we can do that. However, it's not a big issue. I simply press the I button, and because the camera remembers which item you were last in, if I have that on the focus selection mode, then I can use the front wheel to simply scroll to which subject tracking I have. But it would be a little bit nicer if I could do it using custom buttons. Now there is an interesting feature called pre-capture on the Nikon Z8. Basically, when you have pressed the trigger button, it starts recording images in the background, but it's not saved until full press the trigger button. Then I think it's 1 second that's recorded before you press the trigger button. So in this way you have a better chance of getting the decisive moment, like where a bird of prey leaps off from a branch or something like that, a deer jumps or whatever. However, it's only available in JPEG, so I'll not use it. I think this camera is more than capable of being able to save 20 RAW files before I press the trigger button. So it beats me why Nikon didn't choose to enable this on for RAW capture as well. I don't think I'll use it before we get a firmware upgrade, and that would really be nice. But I suspect that Nikon is maybe saving this for Nikon Z8 II or something like that. It's a little bit annoying. But for me, it's not a deal breaker because the autofocus, which is what I'll rely on 99% of the time, is so phenomenal. So it's not a deal breaker for me, it's just annoying. I got my gloves on, it's freezing out here. Anyway, while I'm nagging away, there's one more issue I want to address. I wish that the noise handling of the Z8 was just as good as the Nikon Z series. It's a little bit better. It's not a big deal, but I can see that there's a little more noise in the images. The native ISOs on the Nikon Z6 II, at least, I think ISO 100 and 800. On the Nikon Z8 it's 64, which is good for landscape, and then it's 500. For wildlife, this means that you hit the second native ISO a little earlier, and this just means that in wildlife, where you often bump up the ISO, you hit that second native ISO a little earlier than on the Nikon Z6 series, and this gives you a little more noise. So it is getting a little bit windy out here. I hope it doesn't go into the microphone. Anyway, when it comes to video performance, it captures 8K raw video, which is amazing, but the file sizes, they are huge and gigantic, especially if you record in slow motion. Animals move incredibly fast. Often you want to switch to slow motion so you can appreciate the majestic nature of the creatures a little bit better. But in most cases, you don't need 8K. 4K is more than enough. When capturing video in N-Log, the base ISO is 800 and the second native ISO is an incredible 4000, and this is great for capturing low light footage. I'm not sure about this, but I think that the DX mode for video is not available in some resolutions. At least I struggle with getting it to work. I haven't looked too thorough into it, but there might be an issue there if you count on cropping in and still shooting in high resolution and high quality. Now, I do think that it eats up the batteries fairly quickly. Just bring a spare battery and change it midway into your session and you're good to go. I think I record a lot of video when I'm out shooting, and of course this is more heavy for the batteries than on a regular photo shoot. Simply bring some spare batteries and it's not an issue. Normally for a day of shooting I have two cameras, the Nikon Z6 II and the Z8, and I have 4 batteries in total, and this lasts me a day. 2 batteries per camera, and yeah, of course it's not continuous shooting all day and then move on a bit, sit and record whatever I can find. So it comes to the card slots, you still have like the SD cards and the CF Express Type B cards, and these are considerably faster. I've gotten so used to the CF Express types that I would actually prefer to have 2 identical CF Express Type B slots in this camera. I think the Nikon Z9 has it. So of course there has to be some reasons to wanting a Z9, but anyway, it would be great to have identical slots on this one, because when they don't have the same write speed, you can't really like make them overflow. Actually, I only use the CF Express slot for both footage and video, so I just have a bigger card in there. But really, despite my annoyance with the ISO, which is great, but it could be just a little bit better, and the fact that you cannot change the subject types by using custom button yet, it's a really fantastic camera. I can't stress that enough. it has given me so much more confidence in my own photography because the autofocus is simply amazing. The thing is, I also shoot macro, and it's great for macro. And I also shoot landscape, and it's great for landscape. That low base ISO is perfect. So this camera is really well suited for photographers who really want to have a high image quality, a lot of pixels, and phenomenal autofocus. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.